I grew up on a farm in the little state of Idaho, and I loved it. Every day was filled with plenty to do, from keeping the fields irrigated, planting new crops, stacking the hay, feeding the animals, and fixing the farm equipment. Although we spent much of the time doing tasks to keep the place running, we made time often to make improvements. This wasn't scheduled time necessarily, it was just something that happened as we worked on the farm. We saw things that needed to be improved and would make the improvements when needed. One of the common improvements was building fences, as they never seemed strong enough to hold the next animal or withstand the next winter. So looking back, I've thought, why were we constantly building fence? Were we just not good at it? If we would have been more thoughtful about it, could we have just installed one amazing fence and never had to rebuild again? Well, my argument is no. Finding one perfect way to build fence was not a possibility. And if we would have tried, the learning we would have lost through our frequent iteration upon iteration would have been significant. What I'm explaining to you here is a foundational truth of improvement science. Improvement is more effectively realized when using an iterative test-fail approach instead of using one large, expensive solution. This leads us to the topic of this video, testing changes, where we will discuss why iterative problem solving is so effective and how to apply it in your setting. So if you're working on a project yourself, keep in mind that testing changes comes after you've defined your problem, understood your current state, set a target, and analyzed for root causes. Don't jump to this stage too quickly. The process of test, learn, test again is commonly referred to as the plan, do, study, act cycle. This cycle was made popular by the quality engineer W. Edwards Deming after it was introduced to him by his mentor, Walter Shewhart. The cycle is defined as follows. First, the plan step. This involves identifying a goal, formulating a theory, defining success metrics, and putting a plan into action. Part of the plan step should be going to learn from others. What have others done in this area? Are there already some evidence-based practices you can adopt from others? Look at the literature. Call your colleagues. Don't try to create something that's already been solved. There is so much you can improve simply by researching and adopting. The plan activities are then followed by the do step, the second part of this process, in which the components of your plan, ideas, and changes are tested and then of course measured. Next comes the study step, where outcomes are monitored to test the validity of the tested changes for signs of progress and success or problems and areas for improvement. The act step then closes the cycle, integrating all the learning generated by the entire process, which can be used to adjust the goal, change the methods, reformulate a theory altogether, or broaden the learning. These 4 steps can be repeated over and over as part of a cycle of continuous learning and improvement. Now, let's go back to building fence on the farm. Unknowingly, we were applying this PDMA cycle all the time. Building a fence, watching it break down in some areas, trying new material, and then building again. And what did we gain? Well, take a look at the following. We gained an understanding of different fence materials and their intended use, such as wood, steel, vinyl, cement, wire, a lifelong skill with a hammer, shovel, and other tools. And then most importantly, relationships of trust as we watched things fail and then got to work together to rebuild. And each of us got a PhD. That's farm abbreviation for post-hole digger. Following the iterative testing approach also increases your team's capability to respond to change. Consider this. If we had chosen one large investment fence from the beginning, what would we have to do if we bought more land and fence needed to be expanded? Or we needed to construct a shop where fence was currently standing? Change is constant, and a team who has practiced in iterative improvement is more capable to respond to the ever-changing environment. They're more accepting of it, patient when it occurs, and more willing to respond. One more supporting argument for iterative problem solving is the safety it provides against a huge mess up. So what if the one expensive solution is built to last, but it's an incredible eyesore? Or it rusts quickly, or only keeps in horses but not pigs? How easy is it to get rid of? This outcome happens often in work and life. And when it does, it unfortunately usually sticks, because no one is willing or patient enough to let the investment go to waste and redo it. It's like when you paint your entire house a bad color, then you stand back and decide, well, I guess I'll live with it. So I just mentioned the word patience. Yeah, testing changes is tough. And a mantra I often use for iterative problem solving is fail fast, fail friendly, and fail forward. Let's take a look at an example. A healthcare team was working on improving how quickly they could respond to patients presenting to the ER experiencing stroke symptoms. They decided to put a stopwatch around the patient's neck to help encourage the clinical team to watch the clock as the patient gets admitted and prepared for a CT scan. To test the idea, they have someone play the role of a mock patient, place a stopwatch on them, and roll them on a gurney to the different places in the emergency department. As they do this, they find out how many times the stopwatch is in the way, falls, isn't visible, and overall the idea didn't work, and they move on and try a different type of time measurement. That's what I call fail fast. Fail friendly implies that you don't take yourself too seriously. When something doesn't work, don't cast blame on yourself or others, like the transporter moving the patient around or the nurse who couldn't keep the stopwatch straight. Move on with a positive outlook. That's fail friendly. Fail forward means you learn from the failures. With each test, you decide, will I adopt this, adapt this, or abandon this change I just made? For example, maybe the stopwatch helped you see some major problems around role clarity between the nurse, transporter, and physician and front desk. So sure, the stopwatch didn't work, but the test allowed you to learn something deeper about the process you didn't know before. Again, fail forward. Now, let's summarize what we've hit on so far. Iterative problem solving is often called the PDMA Cycle, standing for plan, do, study, and act. It is effective in that it helps teams deepen the understanding of the problem, just as it helped me increase my understanding of fence materials and tools. It also helps build local improvement capability. Your team will be more willing and more capable to respond to change. A culture of respect and trust will reside when things don't work. It also decreases the risk of massive failure. You can fail fast, fail friendly, and fail forward without experiencing those major costs. To make this concrete, I'm going to bring in a colleague of mine, Eric, to speak on the stroke project I referenced before and why iterative testing was so important to their success.
I've been a nurse for 30 years, and along the way I've had opportunity to participate in a lot of improvement work, and it's where I feel like I can really make an impact. My experience with the stroke team, first of all, I have to say that they're very open to testing change. They understand that minutes save lives. So as a team, it's a very safe place. We all have trust in each other. Everybody has a voice. And although the process has been developed over a long period of time and works quite well, we continue to push and test and fail and try again and over until we get the very best outcome. The work that we do with our stroke patients is very time sensitive. Every minute the patient is having a stroke, we lose 2 million brain cells. So although our process is fairly fine-tuned and our times from arrival to treatment are really great, the team is always pushing to shave an additional minute or two off the process. So this continuous change and continuous push to improve is really designed around saving lives. Well, my thoughts on iterative change is in healthcare is that it's constant. It needs to be ongoing and constant. You need to gain the trust of your team members, understand that everybody has a voice, it's a safe place, and that really it's important, no matter how great you think you are, there's most likely an opportunity to do better.
So as you are busily testing, how do you know if you're improving? In a separate video in this series, you can learn about run charts. These are helpful tools to display progress over time. Use run charts to show how you were performing before the test was in place, during, and after. You can also annotate the chart to show when the change was tested and its impact on the data. Doing this will greatly help engagement on your team as they see the progress the tested idea is realizing. The measures will also help you understand how reliable the new solutions are. Without a run chart and annotations, teams wander aimlessly, unsure of the impact of their work. So let's discuss this term, reliability. The American Society for Quality defines reliability as the probability that a product, system, or service will perform its intended function adequately for a specified period of time, or will operate in a defined environment without failure. So, as you test changes, are they reliable? If implemented, could they work for an extended period of time without failure? Check out the following diagram. This diagram is listing types of changes you could test from bottom to top, the least reliable solutions on the bottom, with the most reliable on the top. Note that as you decrease in reliability, you increase in ongoing effort. The process owners will have to do more when your project is finished to sustain the achievements. So the desired direction, up, higher reliability, and less ongoing effort. So let's put this into practice. When approaching the testing ideas phase of your project, many improvement project teams will come up with solutions such as giving direct feedback to the nurses, or providing more training to the doctors. Sure, these ideas are reasonable, but they're not very reliable. Doing more training every quarter to keep an improvement sustained is a heavy lift, and the listeners could simply disregard it. We call this level 1 reliability. If a project team comes up with a new standard work, such as clear roles and responsibilities for everyone on the stroke team, this is a higher reliability solution, level 2. Process constraints are even higher. For example, the team may have found that they were doing multiple consents during the patient admitting process. The team streamlines the process to where the redundant consent can no longer be performed. Now, I understand that some of you may be looking at the top of this diagram thinking, automation's too expensive. So I guess my ideas just won't ever be at that level of reliability. You're right, you will very seldom hit that level of reliability. I suggest you try to get somewhere in the middle, and if you need to use level 1 solutions, that you couple them with changes such as redesigned process steps or shared standards. Low level of reliability doesn't mean bad solution. It just means it won't sustain well, unless you have other things in place to help it out. We went over a lot in this video, and as you may have noticed, testing ideas can be a bit of a roller coaster as you test, fail, and continue moving forward. I assure you the end result is rewarding, and the level of understanding of the process will be much deeper than if you had approached it any other way. And finally, as you drive down your next country road and notice all the different types of fence people use, appreciate the beauty of iterative problem solving and the local capability of each of those families who have built, rebuilt, and continue improving.